Have you heard the news?
I've only just heard, well, I haven't only just heard it, I've heard it like beginning of this week, but, well, last week, but from now on, guys, when I say this week, I meant last week, alright? Because pre-records and all that. So, beginning of this week, but yeah, beginning of this week, I only just found out that Airbus have plans for, I believe they're going to call it the Son of Concorde, which is cool. It really is cool. I mean, you know, I'd love to see another Concorde. And then I realised how they're going to launch it. So they're going to launch it like a normal aircraft, and then when it gets to a certain altitude, they're going to fire a rocket. Yeah. So here's the problem, because this is going through my mind. Lockheed made a similar mistake of attaching a rocket to an aeroplane. If you don't know what I'm on about, go and have a look at the C-130 Hercules rocket. Just have a look on YouTube, you'll find it. It'll just pop up. Basically what Lockheed did is they took a C-130. You all know what one of them is. If you don't, where have you been all your life, you know what I mean? But yeah. The C-130 was fitted with rockets, and it worked until the test pilot got it wrong. And as he was coming down, he fired the rockets too early. Of course, his wheels weren't on the ground at the time, so all that speed he lost, and the plane just went boop, straight onto the ground, exploded. Well, didn't explode, but it fell to bits, and the crew were okay. But you know, it's human error. So unless they're going to make this thing completely computerized, I'd hate to see the aftermath of it going wrong. Because you basically, when you're going around with rockets strapped to your back, you're going around with explosives. Just the way it is. You know, you've all seen the Discovery and what happened there. At least I think it was a Discovery. It was one of those. But yeah, might not be a very good idea. Right, so they're building this ultra cool plane, which I'm sure will work perfectly and it'll be absolutely ace, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But the Son of Concorde, they can't name it that. A little bit of insight for you if you don't know much about your history and history of flight and the Concorde itself. The Concorde never actually got took out of commission because, well, took out of service because of the crash. A lot of people think it did. It didn't. It ran for an extra 2 years after that crash. That crash had nothing to do with it. Bearing in mind, the Concorde only ever had one crash, and it was not its own fault. It was a series of events that led up to it. Perfectly timed events, unfortunately, for the people on board and in the hotel that it landed on. Basically what happened was a DC-10. If you go to an airport now, right, every time a plane lands you'll see this vehicle just wander up and down the runway checking for debris, and this is what caused it. A DC-10 basically took off and lost a piece from its engine just before its Concorde was set to take off. This piece was lying on the runway, and the Concorde took off. The tyre burst as soon as it went over this piece of metal. Bearing in mind, the Concorde's tyres were specially made, and they were very, you know, they were pressurised to a very high point. So it's gone over this piece of metal. The tyres exploded. The tyres flicked up and hit the fuel tank in a specific area. Now, if it was 2 millimeters out either direction, nothing would have happened. However, it was bang on where it shouldn't have been at the time. It hit this tank. It didn't rupture the tank. See, if you know your physics, you know that if you've got a tank that's full of, for Pete's sake, I'll just say fuel. It's full of fuel, so it's got no room to move. There's the air pressure that's in it, because there will be a little tiny bit of air pressure, has nowhere to escape. Right? If you then bend that can in a certain place, it will rupture. And that's exactly what happened with these fuel tanks. This tyre flicked up, hit the fuel tank, and it ruptured. That's why if you see the video, because there's actually videos on YouTube, you'll see the amount of flamage that's coming out of the back of it. That is the fuel on fire, not the engine. But yeah, the Concorde didn't get taken out of service because of that crash. The Concorde got took out of service because of the amount of fuel it was using and how expensive it was to run it. Because, well, I haven't got my lights on. I wonder why I was running a bit high then. Because to run an aircraft at supersonic speed of that size costs a lot of money. That's why they haven't actually made another style Concorde with the same design anyway. Because yes, it was very aerodynamical, but you know what I mean by that word. It was very, you know, it went straight through the air, and there were very minimal resistance. But the weight of it and the thrust needed to push it that fast to that speed, it was burning fuel about 10 times faster than your average jet, which is why the tickets were so expensive as well. And it still does fly today, but only for the Queen.